What's up, everybody? This is Drew, and I want to welcome you back to Learn How to See Better. It's the only podcast out there that will improve your vision the longer you listen. And in today's episode, I want to talk about something that we all get to deal with at some point in our lives, whether it's with others or it's just with ourselves. Now, the subject matter that I'm going to be diving into a little bit today is on the topic of forgiveness. There's your spoiler alert. I'm talking about forgiveness. But what I want to title this podcast episode is a little bit more encompassing. And I break it down like this. The title is, My Ego Won't Let Me. Yeah, how's that for an open loop? Read that aloud and think of what runs through your mind before that spoiler alert. My ego won't let me. Now fill in the blank. What won't your ego let you do? That might seem like a daunting question. Let's step back and look at what is the ego. The ego. When I say somebody's got a big ego, what picture comes into your mind? You might know somebody personally where you think of them as having a big ego. But what does that really mean? Does that mean they're very confident, overly confident? Does it mean that they're arrogant? Does it mean you think that they're a jerk or only care about themselves and no one else? All of those could be accurate. There's all sorts of different explanations that you've heard. One of my favorite is edging God out. EGO, edging God out. It's like you're not even making room for the Creator. You at an individual level are just kind of pushing that aside like, I got this. You know, the ego can sometimes be connected to, let's take TV shows. Let's go fictional for a second. Remember that TV show called Dexter? Yeah, he was the vigilante. He was a good guy, but did bad things. You know, he went and found the people that are doing really bad stuff in the world, and he had his own form of justice, let's just say, to keep this G-rated. He talked about a dark passenger that was essentially guiding him and telling him to do these dark deeds, right? Almost like someone controlling him within. Now, that might be a little bit abstract or seem a little over the top. You know, I'm not looking at the ego as this dark passenger that we're all riding around with, suggesting that we go and take out bad guys. But the ego can be a dark passenger of sorts. It can be the little devil on your shoulder, little cartoons where it's like a person's trying to figure out, do right or wrong. There's a little angel on one side, a little devil on one side. Little devil's trying to just lead their life into dread, and the angel's saying, you can do the right thing, better, right? But when I think of the ego, it is almost like this internal version of you. If you say your own name out loud, or better yet, out loud in your head, meaning don't move your mouth, don't make any sounds, say your name inside your head. Say it again. Whose voice is that you hear? Is that you? Is that ego? I don't know. Seems a little crazy, right? And I ask that question because there's times when it's like there's another person in there, hanging out with us, like this crazy roommate that always has something to say. A lot of times they're critiquing, a lot of times they're nagging, a lot of times it's saying you're not good enough. Not cool, right? Who wants a roommate like that? If you're taking up space in my head rent free, guess what? You got to pay or quit. That's what the landlord in me says. You got to pay or quit. It's two choices here. But if you don't even know how to evict your ego, or better yet, even identify your ego, do you even recognize or realize what you might be up against when you're hearing these voices in your head? So that's why I said my ego won't let me. Because when you think about your ego, I think about my ego and what it essentially is seeking and what it's doing, and how I kind of look at it as not necessarily a dark passenger, but it's almost like the enemy within. It's the hater in your head. It's the critiquing entity that always has something to say. You get a 99 on a test and it's like, oh, well, you clearly aren't the smartest in the class. You missed one, right? You might put up a personal best. Let's say you had a physical fitness test and needed to run a mile in, the goal's run a mile in 6 minutes. The best you'd ever run previously was 6.5 minutes, and you managed to run a 6-minute and 15-second mile. while everyone else in your group your collective accountability group might have run a 7-minute mile. So you blew everybody out by 45 seconds, but the ego, the enemy and the hater in your head is going to say, well, the goal was 6 minutes. You clearly aren't fast enough. You're not in good enough shape to get the 6 minutes. You only got a 6:15. It's kind of like that book, The Gap and the Gain, right? We can choose to focus on the gap and the things that are missing, or we could recognize that there is gain. There's gain in that runner that shaved 15 seconds off their best run time, right? There are so many instances where we can do well and have critiques or little thieves in our minds stealing our accolades from us, tarnishing the trophies that we may use to help us build a bigger belief system, build better confidence, build a little bit more motivation. But if you're constantly having to fight uphill and battle this other person, so to speak, it's a point in which we have to recognize who is in control. Who's in control? You can tell the hater in your head to sit down, be quiet. No different than if someone walked into your house or your room or your personal space and started raining all of this negativity. You can say, hey, I reject your deposit. Get out of here, right? Funds no good. That deposit, that the value that you're projecting has no, we don't recognize that here. Get out of here. And so why I say the ego won't let me, it's because it's like this entity within us, this ego doesn't want you to really be happy. It seeks its own self-supremacy, so to speak. And it's this weird kind of, battle, this weird battle of the mind, this tug of war that can go back and forth. Because you may encounter times in your life where you recognize, man, maybe I set a goal for myself. Maybe I fell short. Maybe I was trying to do something and I wasn't able to succeed. And I want to accept within myself that I put my best foot forward. All the while there's this critiquing activity going on, putting the thumbs down up towards me saying, you didn't do good enough. You didn't come through. You failed, right? And so when you think about that, there's times when we really do need to see ourselves through kind eyes. I talked about this probably 200 podcast episodes ago. Go look it up. See yourself through kind eyes. Might be episode like 23. This is episode 223. Seeing yourself through kind eyes is important because there will be times where we aspire to do something, we don't get the desired results. So can we see ourselves through kind eyes, recognize that we did the best that we could with the information we had? And if it still doesn't get us the desired result, that's okay. We do our best, we forget the rest. We teach that philosophical attitude towards our kids with hopes that it sticks around when they grow up, because it is easier said than done. You do your best, but then you can't forget the rest, and you can't let yourself off the hook, and your ego won't let you forgive yourself, to accept that you maybe didn't receive the outcome that you'd hoped for, but you did everything right on the front end. You made the decision, you put in the effort, you had the best of intentions, laid it all out on the line, but the results were such that the end target wasn't achieved. Is that okay? Certainly. It's certainly okay. You did your best. Go ahead and allow yourself to forget the rest. You hear the phrase forgive and forget. But if you say you forgive, but you stay holding a grudge, hanging on to the past, trying to keep a accurate account of all those shortcomings, it's not really loving yourself. It's conditional love. And so why I share that is I'm confident. I'm not just confident, I'm convinced there's somebody out there listening to this right now that's got a hater in their head. They've got an ego that won't let them forgive themselves. They won't let them, love a person that they feel has hurt them in the past. They won't sometimes even love themselves because maybe they've broken one too many promises to themselves. And so their self-confidence is crushed because they've broken that ability to confide within themselves. It gets deep. It gets deep. How many of you out there have broken a promise to yourself? And how did that feel? Were you able to get over it? These are some of these base questions I want you all to be able to think about and recognize in your journey, because it is possible for you to see yourself through kind eyes and push past that ego, that hater in your head that's consistently working against you. So take that for what it's worth as you go out and live your life through the ups and downs. Be sure to see yourself through kind eyes. Be willing to forgive yourself, regardless of what the ego is out to try and do, working against you. All right, folks, that's what I've got for this episode of Learn How to See Better. Feel the podcast out there to improve your vision. The longer you listen, I hope when you listen closely, we're able to see some things differently to help you improve your life. Until next time, thanks for listening.